Hi everyone, my name is Helene Malvarez, and today I will be presenting dyscalculia as a neurological based disorder. First, I'll explain the diagnosis, present two vignettes to provide a bigger picture on the disorder. I will then proceed to provide you with background on how it's presented in the classroom and the challenges it presents. Lastly, I will then present the multidimensional diagnosis process, strategies, and explain the conflict in labeling a student with dyscalculia. So what is dyscalculia? Dyscalculia is a specific learning disability that affects the person's ability to understand numbers, have core comprehension of math symbols. They often struggle with memorization and organizing numbers. The estimated prevalence rate within elementary school is between 3 to 6%. For example, in a school of 500 students, this would affect roughly 15 students. And out of those 15 students, a majority of the students would be female instead of male. Some of these symptoms begin in childhood and can continue throughout adulthood if they don't receive the proper assistance. So here we go. Here I'd like to share with you two vignettes. The student who on the left was in first grade and presented these issues, and on the right, under memorization, presented similar issues now that she had advanced through 5th grade. And her estimating quantities, she was tasked with just either counting or guessing the estimated amount that was there. She then proceeded to do that. However, it felt a little bit off. On the right-hand side, she was tasked with memorization. She was tasked with writing down the numbers she heard her teacher say. In the first example, in some perspectives, she could be right. She wrote 500 and then proceeded to add a 3. However, once it's read, it reads 5003. And that's where the misconnection is. She wasn't able to process the information she was receiving after 4 years of receiving assistance. Therefore, was in the stage to receive further insight to see what else could be causing her issues or what other assistance is needed in order for her to be a better performer in school. Next, I will proceed to provide you with how this is observed in the classroom. Children with dyscalculia may lose track when counting, find it hard to know at a glance how many things are in a group. They also have difficulty understanding concepts such as word problems, sequencing information, fractions, and recalling procedures. These in turn turn into classroom challenges that are hard to redirect at moments because these students have difficulty paying attention. Any number-based or math-based activity, even outside of the school, can cause a child to feel frustrated. It can lead to difficulties interacting with fellow peers, leading to social anxiety. Or emotional outbursts are typically triggered by anxiety or panic attacks by the tranquil states of class, which is another key thing and another component that kiddos with ADHD have, or dyslexia, because they feel that this is something that hurts them. So they feel some type of shame with it. And since it happens at such a young age, it's critical that they know that they can receive assistance. The diagnosis process is fairly complex because they would like to provide a detailed description of strengths and weaknesses through various assessments. Now, some of these assessments include medical assessments for vision and hearing issues in the event that they're not able to translate what they're hearing correctly, or they can't see, the vision is kind of going astray, or it might be nutritional. What if they're not receiving all of the antibodies and food products that they need in order to be fully functioning beings? On top of that, they want to see if they have computational skills. Are they receiving all the proper and adequate assistance with using electronics? Do they have math fluency? Are they comfortable with it? Is it a mental computation? As dyscalculia is a brain disorder, all of these areas need to be taken into consideration when giving this diagnosis to the student. So some of the strategies that are presented is twofold. It can be classroom restructuring. They allow the use of fingers if the student feels comfortable. You interplay music and or computer time with the added assistance of others. You can also use colored pencils or pictures to try to help the student understand and feel comfortable with math. And it's typically only math. And then you also want to do this so that it can help you feel more in control of the classroom and know that there's not one kiddo that's going to have an emotional outburst because he's frustrated or he feels anxious or he's embarrassed, even by not being able to perform. Some of the intervention and resources is always notify parents and make sure that they're involved. Have their involvement be at home, but also a resource of change. And there's also the reward and reduction method, where you want to give the child something if he's able to achieve a small component. For example, if he's able to achieve his multiplication facts out of from 1 to 2, you want to be able to give him something that's an incentive and a positive reward for him being able to achieve that. There's also one-on-one tutoring and individual therapy, as well as encouragement. In providing individual therapy, it's critical that it's one-on-one and not in group, because a lot of these students don't work well in groups because they feel shame, they're anxious, and they may not know how to transcribe what they're feeling to other students, particularly those that are younger. Our adults may feel more comfortable, but even then require one-on-one assistance to really dissect what was being said during group. Lastly, I would like to present the bigger picture when providing this label to students. As educators, we want to understand the label, meaning we want to know background about the label before we give it to a student. Ensure that there's a robust assessment practices, not only with the student, but at the school with other students who exhibit the same tendencies. We want to outline the importance between a label and a person's learning needs. Now that's very important for a particularly young child who's just understanding that he has something additional he needs assistance with. For example, in labeling a student with dyscalculia, we want to be sure that he's receiving the one-on-one tutoring, that he's receiving individual therapy, that his parents are comfortable with what he's receiving, and that they're also on board with what he's going to be doing. Lastly, we want to ensure that the label given to a child is a benefit to them. We really want them to know that they're appreciated, loved, and will be able to move forward and succeed academically throughout the years. Lastly, I wanted to share my references just so that everyone could view them. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to send me or leave a quick comment. Thanks.